Hello and welcome to the TMC Newsroom. My name is Rich Tarani. Thanks for watching us today. We are coming to you from San Jose, where on our program is John Gallagher, and he is the Senior Director of Marketing at Meru Networks. John, welcome to our show.
Thanks, Rich. Good to be here.
Yeah, likewise. Good to have you. I'm hoping we could talk a little bit about your company. Why don't we start off by just what you do for customers?
Sure. So we make wireless LAN networking equipment. So we're one of the pioneers of driving 802.11n into the industry. We were founded in 2002. The company's been very dedicated to developing an advanced wireless LAN environment so that people who use Wi-Fi devices can be assured of getting high-quality voice calls across it, seeing good video quality, as well as the data traffic that pretty much everybody's wireless LAN can handle. So we offer some unique advantages when it comes to the density of bringing many clients together and also handling the combination of voice, video, and data traffic. So, since 2002, the company's been very focused on our development in that space. And the thing that makes us unique is that, and I won't go too technical, but essentially all of our competitors in the public market, they have what's called a microcell architecture. And that's where you have separate channels for your access points.
Sure.
So as you deploy a network, right, a single access point, essentially one channel works great. That's what most of us have in our homes.
Sure.
But when you're in a business, in an enterprise, you're going to have multiple access points spread around.
Mm-hmm.
And in a microcell deployment, none of the adjacent access points can have the same channel as the other. So that creates a lot of setup issues. It creates a lot of complexity of managing it. Actually, it makes it harder for, as you're walking through that environment, to manage the traffic along with the mobility. So we came up with a very different concept. It's what's called a virtualized wireless LAN. And so rather than microcell, a virtualized wireless LAN takes into account the overall network resources. And so in our situation, we can have a single channel that goes across the entire enterprise. So whether it's a hotel, we're up in airplanes now, cruise ships, education, healthcare, variety of situations. There's many advantages to having a single channel, because it makes the handoffs easier, it makes the roaming much, much easier, and it actually allows us to control the application performance. So if you've got an application which requires a lot of data traffic, great, we'll optimize for that in that context. But then as you start adding in voice traffic and video traffic, we make sure, we call it airtime fairness, we make sure that every client coming on gets its fair share of the network resource for its application. And that's a benefit of a virtualized wireless LAN that you really can't as easily get in a microcell type deployment. So we have some architectural advantages. We have some differences when it comes to the service level we're able to deliver out to the customer. So again, since 2002, we've been happy to pioneer and chart that path. And this past year, most notably March this year, we're able to go public based on that strength and the momentum that we've seen with the customer base, adopting what Gartner actually had called the fourth generation wireless LAN, microcell, of course, being the third generation. So we're representing a next wave of where the technology's headed.
So just to delve back into tech for a second, the channels, if you have a single channel and you've got multiple devices playing on that channel, do you not congest the channel? I'm trying to comprehend the concept here.
Yeah, it's a fair question, because many people think of it that way, right? You've got a pipe coming in, finite, capacity. And well, in adding more stuff to it, everybody's gonna get less and less. So how do you give fairness to it? The big difference is that because we're not microcell, we don't have to waste any of that bandwidth on contention management, right? Managing the overhead of making sure every client gets what it needs. Another way of saying it is, if you were to look at it's what we call a loss contention graph.
Overhead, are you talking about the Ethernet overhead or the Wi-Fi overhead of?
Exactly. As you add more clients to the network with a microcell architecture, the available bandwidth to the accumulated clients becomes less and less.
Right.
Because more of that bandwidth is chewed up by the management and all that. It's called a loss contention graph.
Sure.
We don't have that, because we can, again, just like virtualization does for servers, like it does for storage, we're able to optimize network-wide the resources so that even though, sure, there's some management overhead that we have, everybody has some, to the user, we're able to make sure that we're delivering that level of service. In some cases, we can borrow, so to speak, from adjacent APs, access points. In other cases, simply because we don't have the contention issues that a microcell deployment has, we have more available bandwidth. So arguably, we're using what's coming in on the pipe more efficiently, and because it's a virtualized environment, we can share, we can borrow some resources to make sure that as people come on, absolutely there are limits, right? I mean, we've got a YouTube video which shows 500 clients in a 500 square foot room, all getting streaming video in high def through Hulu, making voice quality calls, and that's off of 4 access points.
So this gets us to that. I'm curious about what your thoughts were about the iPhone 4 rollout, where Steve Jobs had some challenges with the Wi-Fi access, and he actually had to ask the audience members to turn off their MiFi devices. Apparently, there were some, I forget the number, thousands of MiFi devices on in the audience, which just shows you how geeky those the people are that happen to be in that room. And I would have been one of the people had I been there. So I might have brought 2 or 3 MiFi devices. So, you know, no insult intended to the audience. Would you have been able to help Apple with such a problem?
Absolutely. In fact, we did a webinar on it about 6 days after that event happened. And we brought in a noted expert, Craig Mathias, who's really tremendous in framing the problem of what happened in the RF environment there. And, you know, some of our, technologists were able to describe how, of course, that could be prevented with a virtualized wireless LAN.
Well, would you have had to make all the people in the audience get on that virtualized wireless LAN, or there wouldn't be interference from them on your? No. They wouldn't step on your channel at all?
Not at all. In fact, what we would have done is probably had channel 11, channel whatever, dedicated to Steve Jobs, and using what we call air firewall, make sure that nobody else could come onto that channel. They'd be steered onto a different channel. But at the same time, it's easy then in that kind of conference environment to have all the MiFis, give them their own channel. Give the people on a traditional Wi-Fi their own channel. Give Steve his own. Give the facilities people their own. And that way, avoid any kind of conflict.
Well, going forward, Apple can just ask everybody to hold the lower left-hand corner of their iPhones to ensure that they have adequate bandwidth available to them for any demos that they want to have.
It's a feature now. It's the kill button to prevent that kind of.
Well, you no longer have to find the N button on your cell phone. You can just touch the lower left. I mean, you could spin it as a feature.
Absolutely, but you know, it's because of exactly those things, right? That you know, we're finding a lot of customers coming to us now, not because our salespeople are knocking on their door, though they are, and not because we've got good referenceability and our customers tell other customers, but we're getting a lot of people coming to our doorstep because they're finding in real life that in a meeting room, not all of them can watch a streaming video.
Sure.
Or when they went home, just like I did recently, you find out that your kid actually, in their middle school, couldn't use the laptop carts because it took them 20 minutes for their class to all log on.
Sure.
Right?
And we're only going to see more of that because there's more devices, right? I walk around with 3 or 4 Wi-Fi enabled devices now everywhere I go, and expect that to be normal. Also, we can expect the typical consumer to be streaming multiple channels of video up and probably consuming multiple channels down.
Absolutely.
All the time.
FaceTime is very powerful.
Yeah, FaceTime's just one thing that we'll see. We'll see lots of other products. We've got Fring out there, and Skype's going to be coming out soon. And then you've got TVs that have cameras, so homes are, I mean, the contention in wireless is just going to increase and increase and increase. So I've got 30 seconds left, and I'm hoping that you can just tell me what's next. Maybe you can weave service assurance in there.
Sure. Well, service assurance is something that we started back 6 or more months ago, and about 3 months ago we made another notable addition to it. So basically, you know, when people bring wireless LAN into their enterprise, they need service assurance. So what we do is what we call a 99.99 49s reliability assurance. We have a service assurance platform. We've partnered with really great colleagues like SolarWinds down in Austin, Texas, their Orion NPM solution, mates with our service assurance platform, so that from a single pane of glass, a user can manage their network, maintain reliability, and know that they are actually going to miss having Steve Jobs give them an angry call the next day, right? So that's really what we deliver through service assurance.
And could you give us what's next for the company in 15, 20 seconds?
Well, I think what's next is you'll see, you know, of course, 802.11n really come into the mainstream in terms of adoption in the enterprise.
Replacing wired?
Continuing to reduce the use of wired.
Okay.
Right? Wired will never.
It's a good answer.
Wired will never go away.
Okay. Okay.
But the question is, how deep into the core does it need to be?
All right.
We think it's still got a ways to go to get deeper into the core. The edges, that is becoming all wireless, and that will
Okay.
continue. So our future, I think, is pretty bright because 802.11n really emphasizes the economic as well as technical benefits of making Wi-Fi the choice for the edge as opposed to wired, and the deployment costs, the cable pulls, the truck rolls, whatever you want to call it. There's a huge delta in terms of both capital cost up front and operating costs going on that we can address by making a better trade-off of wireless LAN versus wired in enterprises. So I think in the future you'll see those trade-offs become more and more advantageous to going with virtualized wireless LAN.
Thank you so much for your time today. This was
Great.
great. It's great
Thanks,
to meet
Rich.
you.
Likewise.